The movie kicks off by introducing two guys, Jones and Billy, who've just walked out of a little shop on the edge of town. They were parched because there was no more drinking water, so Jones asked Billy to head back inside to grab some. When Billy went back in, he stumbled upon a gruesome scene. Dead bodies everywhere and blood all over the place. Turns out Jones and Billy weren't just regular folks. They were part of a gang that robbed these small shops out in the boonies. It kind of made sense, you know, 'cause these small places didn't have much security, so it was easy pickings for them. While Billy was filling up the water, out of nowhere, this little girl appeared. She must have been hiding when all the craziness was happening. Afraid of getting caught, Billy pulled out his gun and didn't think twice about shooting the poor girl. Next thing you know, the scene changes and we meet this guy named Tom Stall. He's about to open up his diner in a tiny town in Indiana. Tom's got a son named Jack, who's a high school kid. That day, Jack was playing in a baseball game and managed to lead his team to victory. But after the game, while Jack was in the locker room, this dude named Bobby comes up to him, looking all irritated, 'cause his team lost to Jack's team. Bobby decides to challenge Jack to a fight, but Jack doesn't want any trouble, so he asks Bobby to back off and even admits he's scared of him. It's kind of funny, 'cause everyone starts laughing at Jack for being so blunt. Bobby ends up just walking away, leaving Jack alone. As the evening rolls in, Tom and his crew start cleaning up, 'cause the diner's about to close. There are only 2 customers left, wrapping up their meals, and Jones and Billy walk in. They sit down, order some food from Tom. So Tom goes up to these 2 dudes and informed them that his diner would be closing soon and no more food would be available. Well, Jones didn't like hearing that one bit, and he got all snappy with Tom. But Tom, he didn't want any trouble in his diner, so he caved and served him. Then he tells his waitress to call it a night since it's getting late. But as she's heading for the door, Billy jumps up and blocks her, treating her pretty rough. And it doesn't end there. Jones pulls out a gun and threatens Tom, demanding all the money. But here's the kicker. Tom ain't just some regular guy. Even with a hurt leg from getting stabbed, he could take down Jones and Billy with one swift move. Everybody who saw what Tom did couldn't believe their eyes. I mean, this guy seems so normal and friendly, but he handled those crooks like a pro. After that, the local and even international news went crazy, calling Tom a hero for taking on a gang of tough robbers all by himself. Tom's wife, Edie, swung by the hospital to pick him up, and there were folks outside cheering for him like he's some kind of superstar. So Tom gets home, and there are a bunch of reporters hanging around, wanting to chat with him. But he's all polite, telling them to go away and saying what he did was no big deal, anyone could have done it. Once he steps inside, Jack's all proud of his dad, calling him a hero. Meanwhile, Edie looks out the window and spots this black car parked nearby. She figures it's just more media folks wanting to talk to Tom, so she doesn't pay much mind to it. A few days later, Tom's diner is back up and running, but this time, it's packed with folks who want to meet the hero. I mean, there are so many visitors showing up that Edie even pitches in to help out Tom and his staff, who are swamped with serving all these people. Then, out of the blue, this fancy-dressed crew shows up at the diner. Their leader, Carl Fogarty, starts calling Tom Joey Cusack, but Tom said he is Tom Stall, not Joey Cusack. He even shows Carl his ID card, but Carl doesn't care. He takes off his glasses, trying to get Tom to recognize him, but Tom still sticks to being Tom Stall. Carl and his gang finally leave with this creepy smile. After they're gone, Edie calls Sheriff Carney to report these 3 shady guys who visited their diner. Sheriff Carney heads over to Carl's car and starts asking questions, but Carl just plays it cool, saying he was there for the coffee. Later on, Sheriff Carney goes to Tom and Edie's place and tells them that Carl's a big-time crime boss from Philadelphia, known for being super ruthless. Thing is, he and his gang always manage to dodge prison because they've got a ton of money. So, Sheriff Carney, he asks Tom if he's got a problem with Carl and his crew. But Tom said that Carl thinks he's Joey Cusack guy, but he had no idea who that is. Next day, which happens to be Sunday, Tom decides to head over to his diner to clear his head since it's closed anyway. While he's sipping his coffee and pondering, he spots Carl's car parked right in front of his joint. He keeps an eye on it, and before you know it, the car's gone. Tom figures Carl might be heading to his house, so he ditches the shop, calls up his wife, and tells her to grab the shotgun from the cupboard, just in case. Long story short, Tom gets home first, and Edie asks what's going on. Jack, who's having breakfast, looks shocked because he never knew his dad had a shotgun. Now, a few days later, Edie and her daughter Sarah hit up a shopping center. But while Edie's busy shopping, Sarah disappears out of nowhere. Edie starts freaking out, looking all over for her girl. Luckily, she finds her before anything bad goes down. But out of the blue, Carl shows up, catching Edie off guard. He starts spilling the beans about her real husband, this Joey Cusack fella, who's like the scariest hitman in all of Philadelphia, known as the Ghost. Carl tells her that Tom's the one who messed up his eye. Edie ain't buying it and whisks her daughter away. Now at school, poor Jack's still getting bullied by Bobby and his buddies. They're throwing shade at Jack's family, even calling his dad a killer. Well, Jack ain't taking that lying down. He gets into a scrap with them, but that just lands him a suspension and a good scolding from his dad. Tom tries to teach his son that violence ain't the answer to everything, but Jack brings up how his dad dealt with those robbers. This gets Tom real mad, and he gives his son a good smack. Later on, when Tom talks to Eddie about Carl and his two goons show up at their house. They say Tom's got to come with them to Philadelphia because someone wants to meet him. Turns out they've snatched Jack to make sure Tom cooperates. Not wanting to put his son in harm's way, Tom agrees to go to Philly as long as they let Jack go. Went back on his word and said he wasn't going to Philly. Well, Carl wasn't having it, and he told his guys to drag Tom along. But Tom, he could have taken him out easy, but things went south when Carl shot Tom in the shoulder during the scuffle. Tom was left helpless, and Carl was about to finish him off. But just when it looked grim, Jack showed up and shot Carl dead, saving his dad. They rushed Tom to the hospital for some serious care. Not long after, Edie came to visit him. She finally confronted Tom about his true identity. With a heavy heart, Tom finally admitted he was Joey Cusack, a hitman who did dirty work for gangsters in Philly. But he decided to bury that dark past and start fresh after meeting Edie, the only woman he'd ever fallen for. When Edie heard all this, she was real mad and let down because Tom had been keeping such a big secret from her. So, after all that craziness, Tom started drifting away from his family and the whole community. Even Jack, his own son, was looking real disappointed in him, now that they knew he was a murderer. Then, Sheriff Carney dropped by Tom's place to dig into what happened with Carl and his buddies. He had his doubts about Tom, especially with the rumors that he might be this assassin Joey Cusack, but Edie steps up to defend her man. She tells the sheriff that Tom's innocent and ain't no hitman like they say. She explains how much trouble her family's been through, especially since the diner robbery, and begs the sheriff not to make things worse. The sheriff gets all uncomfortable and hightails it out of there. Now, in the middle of the night, while everyone's catching some Z's, Tom gets a call from this guy Richie out in Philly. Richie tells Tom to haul it over there and threatens to show up at Tom's house if he says no. Not wanting to put his family at risk, Tom decides to head to Philly solo. When he gets there, he meets up with one of Richie's guys at a bar, who takes him to meet Richie at his place. So, here's the scoop. Richie, the big shot crime boss in Philly, turns out to be Tom's older brother. They start chatting, and Richie's not too happy with Tom because he vanished during their gangster showdown in the city. Tom figures out that his past actions messed up Richie's plans to become the big boss of Philly. Tom wants to make things right by going back to work as a hitman for his bro, but Richie ain't on board with that plan. He actually wants to get rid of Tom once and for all, so he tells his crew to take Tom out. But those guys weren't a match for Tom, and he wipes them all out on his own. When Tom's about to take out Richie, the guy looks like he wants to say something, but Tom's not interested and finishes him off. After that, Tom hightails it back to his home in Indiana. He finally gets back while his wife and kids are getting ready for dinner. Jack, after a tense moment, offers his dad some food, and Edie invites Tom to join him at the table. It's like a signal that they're ready to have him back in their lives. So the moral of the story is never bring a gang to a family dinner. It's bad for your appetite and your criminal career.